what advice you would give 20-year-olds now?
I think resilience is something that you need to have. So I think that's one advice that I think I would want to give people who are starting out.
So in today's day and age, do you think there's a skill which is overhyped but completely does not deserve that kind of hype?
I feel like relationship building and being well networked is very, very important, and it does have a lot of benefits. But having said that, I feel like is something that I personally think is a little bit overrated. We really, really need to focus on doing and executing.
I used to think that if I actually just worked hard, things would just fall into place. Cute. Because no one really tells you that careers are not only built on efforts alone, they're built on skills which you usually learn too late in life. Skills like saying no, reading people, taking all the hard decisions when things are not going your way. Which is exactly why we're giving AMA Ahmedabad's podcast a fresh lens. It's called Panorama, and this is where we start. It's called Skills That Actually Compound. No gyan, no fluff, just things that actually work when you're building a career. Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of AMA's Skills That Actually Compound. I'm Dhruvi Shah Kashiparekh, your host, and today we have Miss Priya Gandhi joining me on this beautiful podcast. Starting off right from the beginning, Priya, at 22, what skills did you think you needed and what skills did you start working upon?
I think at the age of 22, your idea in terms of what will lead to success is highly dependent on these universal timelines that we have. That you need to be financially accomplished by a certain age, or in your personal life be settled at an age. I feel like from then to now, for me, success now is just being really, really feeling committed to what I'm doing, actually loving what I'm doing, making a difference, and actually being of any importance or impacting something in the positive way. And if I'm able to do that and staying true to myself in this process, I think that is something which I see now as a skill or a quality that is good in order to call yourself successful.
That's amazing. And throughout your career so far, which skill do you think has delivered the highest return for you?
As I mentioned, I think consistency is the key, and also determination. That's something which I think we don't account to how important that is. We can be very brilliant, very well qualified. We might know our job very well, but even showing up on days which are not great and just showing up every single day, I think is something which is very important in this aspect.
Absolutely. I think keeping at it.
Yes,
and
just getting stuff done no matter what.
Yeah. And eventually you'll see results.
Yes.
For sure. I know it's hard to admit for a lot of people, but is there any kind of skill you realized you were bad at?
I think letting things go and just sort of being able to measure what is really important at that point in time, and not really focusing on the BC category things. And sometimes you feel like responsibility comes with you having to be perfect in every single thing, and then that eventually sometimes slows down the outcome, and it also exhausts you a lot. I think so just letting things go is something that I'm gradually, things that are not very important at that point in time is something that I'm trying to work on.
Right. And keeping your focus on the particular things that actually matter.
Right?
Right.
Yes.
I feel like that helps you clear out your goals as well, know, and how you're reaching them.
Absolutely.
I feel like the clarity you get from that is unmatched.
Absolutely.
Right. So if your designation today disappeared tomorrow, what is one skill that you would bank on?
I think my ability to execute and administer systems, identifying gaps and just maneuvering that and overcoming that is something that I see, something that my strength is, and I've worked on myself, because at the end of the day, ideas etc. are absolutely nothing, and they're superficial if you've not really worked on execution, and that's something that I've
Absolutely.
worked on myself, and I think it's very important. So I don't think titles really matter, but I think organizations or systems need people who turn ideas into execution.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in terms of, say, executing, right, a lot of people believe that hard work is the way to success. Is that what you believe as well?
I definitely think yes, hard work is the way to success, but it's not only hard work. You have to also work smartly, you also have to work hardly. Nothing substitutes the other.
Absolutely.
You can't only work smart and you can't only work hard. And I definitely realize the importance of teamwork. So you could individually be very hardworking and working smart, but by yourself, I don't think you can accomplish anything. So you need to be able to work in a team. So that is also
we all
something.
have the same 24 hours, right?
Yes.
How much can you get done?
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. And
Yes.
is there a mistake in particular that you repeated over and over again, but realized later that, this is something you were doing wrong and you could have done better?
Yeah, I think this is with context to my judgment with people and the people that you hire. Not every time perception is reality, and sometimes one can be very brilliant, but also seeing whether the person fits in culturally, value system wise. I think that's something that I've learned over the years. The other thing is, I think trust without any accountability structure also sometimes doesn't serve the purpose. So while you still want to trust people, of course, because that's what leadership entails, you have to trust people, but it also has to come with some sense of clearing off expectations, having open conversations, and yes, and having that accountability also along with trust.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
how does your process work of trusting someone? Do you give it a couple of days, months, or do you check with, tangible output?
Yeah, I think you start off trusting the person, so you start off with that.
Like a blank slate for every person.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, if there is somebody I want to work with, I would, of course, the bare minimum is that I have to put in my trust in
Absolutely.
that person. But having said that, I think just setting clear expectations, having conversations, also being able to have uncomfortable conversations time to time if there are any, is something that is also very, very important along the process.
Right. And I think that develops more over time. 'Cause
Absolutely.
in my personal experience, I start off with everyone. I give them the full benefit of doubt.
Yes.
And then it depends on them whether they want to prove me right or wrong.
Sure.
So I feel like it's a trial and error, but
Yeah.
individually with every person. So you're doing it again and again. And I feel like as you do it, your judgment of how to take the output that comes from it keeps changing as well.
Sure.
And keeps maturing in a certain way.
Sure.
Right,
Yes.
absolutely. So, I'm not sure if you've had any failures in life, but if you've had failures in life, what did it teach you? Was there a skill underneath that failure which, came up and you realized that this failure actually wasn't a failure? It was, a good thing that this happened to me.
I think in my context, and I think also maybe many people can relate to this who are running organizations today. I think there are too many people, but there's still always lack of talent, in organizations and when you're managing people. And how to manage human resource is something that I don't think any course teaches you. I think so. It's very important to recognize talent at the right time, give them opportunity within the system, invest in developing the people that you have. Because like I said, you always have people, but sometimes you still feel you're running out of talent and you start looking outside. And I think that is something which I have learned through my experience and not something that any course could have taught me.
And I think that is very important. People need to learn how to retain who they already have,
Right.
Instead of letting go and replacing them with newer talent.
Sure.
I feel like cost-wise also, it feels like maybe it's a lesser cost to go out and look for, say, a cheaper resource, but
that ends up not happening that way. You end up spending more time, you end up incurring
absolutely
more
the
costs.
training,
So,
the learning curve, all of that is happening again.
Yes.
So it does take a little bit of time for the new person also
Yes.
to culturally fit in, right? So I completely agree with you in terms of how you need to retain
Yes.
and learn how to manage people rather than just letting go.
Right. And this is not something that gets taught.
Absolutely not. I feel
yeah.
like, and it is one of the most important things or issues rather that businesses face. And we get a lot of questions on that as well. But I feel like you have to learn through experience and what experience teaches you over the years, in terms of managing people. So, and expectations, like you mentioned. Right. So, in today's day and age, do you think there's a skill which is overhyped but completely does not deserve that kind of hype?
I feel like relationship building and being well networked is very, very important, and it does have a lot of benefits. But having said that, I feel like over networking without any substance to back it up can sometimes end up just being very superficial. And in that context also, I think just the need to continuously build perception without it being backed up by any kind of reality or any stuff is something that I personally think is a little bit overrated.
Right. Because it's all about the show, but there's no actual value added.
Yes, and I think at some point then it catches up.
Right.
And then there's no depth if it's only being done keeping one point of view in mind.
Right. It's just taking off 1%, 2%, 3%.
Right.
Yeah, right. Is there any popular career advice that you've gotten which turned out to be completely wrong for you?
I feel like a career advice that people get early on in their career is, being opportunistic, saying yes to every opportunity that's coming your way. Sure, that is important, but after my few years of experience in the past, I feel like it's important to say yes to opportunities that are coming your way, but you also have to protect what you have in hand at that point in time, because at some point then it just dilutes everything, and then you just have too many things that you've said yes to without actually being able to focus on execution on the things that you would have said yes to earlier.
Right.
So yes, I think that's one advice which I think is important, but it also has to, the forward-looking point after that is also something that you have to keep in mind.
Absolutely. So, what habit do you think people romanticize, but is actually very dangerous for them?
I think one aspect which has been romanticized a lot in the corporate culture is coming off as extremely busy, but getting very less done. I think that is one thing which needs to not be romanticized. I think there needs to be quality over quantity work. Of course, you also have to work enough. You have to work hard, but also at the same time, there needs to be some output that's coming out of that. So,
right.
Yes.
Imagine saying you're busy all the time, but you've got nothing done.
Nothing done, or very less done, or getting things done which are not relevant or that were not meant to be done at that point. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Right. So, what decision do you make today more slowly than you used to before?
I think decision on people who have to work closely with me.
Mm-hmm.
I think you need to give time to that process. You need to give importance um, to see and gauge as much as you can. I know it's not really possible to gauge that right from the get-go, but also giving importance to your gut feeling. Seeing aspects of whether this person will fit in keeping the value system point in mind, culture fitment, as opposed to just being awed by the brilliance or qualification of that person. So I think that's one thing that I think I end up giving a little bit more time to assess
Mm-hmm.
as much as I can. Of course, there are a few things that you really can't, and you also have to trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
But I do end up giving some more time to this than what
That's
I did
amazing.
earlier.
Right. And on similar lines as well, is there anything now that you say no to immediately that you used to encourage or, even think about before?
Yeah, I think very similar to what I said earlier. I think just having brilliance and intelligence, but then if that's ruining your culture that you want to preserve, it's one thing to take things to the next level, but not at the cost of completely disturbing the philosophy of the organization or the institute that you're trying to build. So yes, I do tend to away from simply brilliance and not it being, fitting well in your context.
Right. And I'm sure it must have come through a lot of experience and,
Yes, a lot of learning and
encounters with
experiences.
people as
Yes.
well. Right. So, in terms of processes, how do you know when to quit and when to push through?
I think when you're putting in a lot of work, which is also leading you to feeling just drained and exhausting, and it not giving you enough outcome or output,
A
is when I think,
satisfaction.
right,
Yeah.
I think you need to assess that and sort of recalibrate the whole purpose of why you're doing that and rethink those things. I think.
Absolutely. In talks about money, value, and career as well, right? Is there any particular skill that helped you earn a lot more than you used to? In
I,
simple words.
uh, I think looking at value creation
Mm-hmm.
is important. So every decision that you're making or anything that you're embarking on, I think it's important to look at um, what is the return, what is the revenue, the efficiency that has to go behind it, and just creating the value. So I think that is one thing that you have to always factor also while taking any decision or while trying to grow your organization. Financial decisions and creating better value is also something that you have to always factor.
Right. And in terms of saying you have to factor in a couple of values, right? It's inbuilt from, the very beginning, a few things that you are taught. But
Right.
what kind of a skill do you think makes you look expensive or feel expensive or is expensive, but is largely invisible?
I think the mental load on taking this difficult decisions
Yeah.
um, is something that absolutely doesn't get seen,
Yeah.
or you cannot put any formula or value to that. Um, but yes, I think taking tough decisions, big decisions, decisions that can literally change the face of things overnight. And these decisions that also have consequences, I think,
Absolutely. With
is
great power comes
something
great
which
responsibility.
you don't realize, or it really can't be expressed.
Right.
So
So I want to ask you, what did you learn about people, later in life than you should have?
yeah, I think what I've learned in the last few years is that perception is not always reality. So sometimes reality takes time to catch up, and there are many things that get factored in that. So that's one thing that I think, more often than not, we get very impressed, by very impressive CVs and resumes and just one interaction, but I think not every time does that translate into something meaningful. So that's something I've learned. The second thing is that I think how you shape people in your company, sometimes very good people end up going, sometimes the difficult ones end up staying. And I think when you start identifying something early on by giving importance to, people and what they are doing and what they are involved in, and if something doesn't feel right, or if you think something needs to be changed a certain way, or if there is something that you're realizing, to act upon it right then and there, and how you can shape the talent that you have within by just taking certain timely decisions.
Right. And I think that's what a good leader has to do, has to identify the right talent,
Right.
and how to retain them, right? In terms of leadership as well, is there any particular skill that stands out or you think is a must for a leader to have?
I think just consistency, showing up without any excuses, and being determined. I think that's what is an underlying quality or aspect that you need to have to be successful or to really, do something.
Right. So, talking about people as well, we spoke about people management, how to retain them. Have you ever come across people who are technically brilliant but emotionally draining? And if you have, how do you deal with such people?
Yes, I have experienced
That's great to know.
I don't know. I think the only way to go about, I think everyone is, of course, different. So there isn't one particular answer to this. But I think that just technically brilliant people, you have to tell yourself that you have to use them in the right way, and you have to use them in the way that's suiting yourself, which is suiting them, suiting the organization. And I think timely conversations, setting expectations, very clear boundaries, clear expectations, is something which I think you need to keep doing with these people, and just having an openness such that even they can express something, and also being okay and normalizing that if this association will not go a long way, then sure, then you have to work towards how things may not end up going a certain way, or the way you had thought it to be.
Absolutely. Do you also see the demographics of the people changing? I mean, in terms of the employees you work with?
Yeah, I think so. As I said, people need to focus on actually getting work done. I feel like I am experiencing people who are getting more and more caught up in building a perception or a brand of their own, which is of course important. Perception building is important, marketing yourself in the right way is important, and communicating and talking about your strength is important. But at the same time, I think we really need to focus on doing and executing. I think I've been saying this a lot over the podcast, and I've said this a lot, but I genuinely do believe that if everyone believes in that and starts working on doing and execution, I think we will be able to change a lot of things.
Right. So that would answer a little bit of my next question as well. As to what advice you would give 20-year-olds now.
Yeah.
Would it be the same, like getting things done, just do it? Or do you have some more snippets of wisdom?
I think to the people in their 20s, I would say that I think of late there is a lot of importance to, I think, mental health and emotional well-being, which I think is of course extremely important, and one should not compromise it. We should talk about it. We should have the freedom to talk about it more and more. But I also want to say it's also important for young people, people in their 20s, people in their 30s, to also be a little bit more resilient. I think resilience is something that you need to have, especially in situations that are really not in control of anybody else, or sometimes even yourself. And if it is in your control, to build the resilience to sort of come out of it. So I think that's one advice that I think I would want to give people who are starting out.
No, that is absolutely necessary, because now that we're spoiled for choice, given so many options, it's very easy to get distracted and, keep venturing and doing newer
Sure.
things.
No, absolutely. I think one more thing that I'm noticing with people just entering workforces is like just the whole instant gratification, instant growth.
Yeah.
I think that was only going to lead to faster burning out. So I think people need to be a little bit patient.
I think
at
there's
that
a
age.
term called FIRE for that, financially independent, retire early, which a
Right.
lot of youngsters, especially globally, are following
Right.
and are choosing to retire
Early, yes.
Maybe it's because of a burnout,
Right.
or maybe because they've achieved financial independence
Yeah.
to a level where they feel like they don't need to work anymore. But like you said, resilience and consistency and keeping at it with the same, say, profile, or at least giving one job
Right.
a couple of years.
Yes. Giving
would
it a
help.
fair chance, giving it some time,
Absolutely.
being good at it. I didn't know there's this term. But yes, I think that's exactly what I was saying. And
Yeah.
a lot of people are wanting to have this in their life. But I mean, I don't know how that's going to really go about.
So, Priya, what was the hardest professional year of your life? And did it help you build a specific skill?
I think last couple of years for us have been a little bit challenging in the sense we are going through organizational growth, we are going through leadership transition, we are going through performance challenges. So I think last couple of years have been about that, and I think that has sort of forced me to build emotional stamina, physical stamina, and decision making independence, I think, over the last couple of years. So I think, I don't know if it's the hardest yet, but there's definitely a phase going on right now which is requiring me to build more stamina.
Right. Which is, I see that it's a decreasing trend now with people. Especially after COVID, it's been a downhill
Right.
for a lot of people. So, physically, emotionally, mentally,
Yes.
building that stamina.
Absolutely.
I agree. I completely agree. So, Priya, according to you, what advice sounds wise but is actually very lazy?
Yeah, I think I think this whole advice or narrative behind, follow your passion, follow your dream. Yes, sure, you should follow your passion and you should love what you're doing. But I think passion should follow skill and contribution, and also to some extent experience. Where if you're too young in terms of age, maybe look up to somebody who's experienced in their field and be open to taking advice, and actually doing something that you could meaningfully contribute towards.
Right. I mean, get yourself a mentor. That is
Correct.
not said enough.
Correct. Absolutely. That's very important.
Right. Absolutely. Now we'll move on to the rapid fire. So,
Rapid.
strap your belt on because this is going to be a quick one. So, what's a skill that you're still working on?
Letting go of some imperfections which don't really mean anything at this point.
Okay. A skill that you regret ignoring.
I think just trusting without holding accountability.
Okay. A skill that will matter more in the next 5 years.
Emotional intelligence.
Absolutely. One skill that you would bet your entire career on.
I think adaptability.
Wow. One sentence that sums up what work has taught you.
So I think for me in my journey so far, I think I have a background of studying art and design in my undergrad. And then I ended up joining my family business, which is into manufacturing of biologicals. So a complete shift in career. So yeah, I think just the discipline and the consistency and just the need and want to show up and learn and be good at something that I wasn't taught conventionally before I joined. I think that's something which can define my work. So I think just the ability to being able to learn something, apply whatever I've learned, and also be open to unlearning so that I'm relevant with every year passing, I think is what I would say can describe my journey so far.
I love how you're getting the creative side of, when you're in the creative field, you're learning constantly, you're
Yes.
thinking out of the box, you're trying to create. I love how you're imitating that into
the
business as
conventional
well.
norms of business.
Right,
Absolutely.
and giving it a fresh perspective
Absolutely.
per se.
Absolutely. I think like art and design thinking push you to think creatively out of the box, and I think that is something which has really helped me, so far in my journey.
Right,
Yeah.
right. If someone remembers one thing from your work or whatever you've done or will do, what do you want it to be? Must be a difficult question.
Yeah, I think, like I said, not necessary that that you've studied something from the same industry that you will end up being in, but I think just the whole go-getter attitude, because it doesn't matter that it doesn't necessarily have to be that you have the necessary background to really turn something into impactful. Yeah, I think I've said this a lot in our interaction in the past hour, which is that just being consistent and just showing up every day and being disciplined.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that is the secret to your success.
So far, yes.
Right. And
Yes.
according to you, I feel like you've already answered this before, but what does being good at your work mean to you?
I think being good at your work means translating an idea into reality, translating a thought into execution. If you're able to do that, then I think you're good at work, because while it's just a sentence and it may sound very philosophical, but I think it's an amalgamation of a lot of things where there could be several ideas which could sound amazing, but if you're actually able to get something done out of that, which entails yourself, the team that you work with, so many other external factors, internal factors, timelines, things that are not even in your control that get factored in much later, some assumptions that are wrong. So yes, I think turning an idea into reality.
Right. Because in the end, I feel like the responsibility is yours
Absolutely.
once you take that decision. So thinking of all aspects while making such a decision, I feel like is
Absolutely.
a big task in itself. Right. And one last question to end this podcast, right? Since we're at AMA and you've been in Ahmedabad, right? You've been born and brought up here. How has AMA shaped the skills you have currently, or how has it played a role in your life?
So I think AMA is an institute that has some brilliant courses for professionals, young professionals, professionals who are in the middle of their career or are towards the end of their career. For young professionals, I think it has courses to make them future ready. For certain older professionals, I think it has certain courses that can help them still be relevant. And I also think that it gives a whole set of training and developmental programs that can help organizations overcome any challenges that they are facing, send their employees to attend certain programs. The trainers come from a very rich experience and background, and it really helps in giving a fresh perspective to professionals. So I think these are many such training, developmental modules and courses which AMA offers, which I think really helps organizations.
Great. That sounds like a holistic development program for, say, someone of any age, tenure, or experience.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that. That brings us to the end of this podcast. I'm extremely grateful to Priya for joining us today, and to the audience who've still stayed with us. Thank you. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.